Australia's infamous Bruce Highway, one of the most hazardous roads in the country, is set to undergo a significant transformation as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announces an ambitious $7.2 billion infrastructure investment. This landmark funding initiative comes at the start of an election year and aims to address rising concerns over road safety and productivity on Queensland's major transport route. Spanning nearly 1,700 kilometres from Brisbane to Cairns, the Bruce Highway has long been associated with devastating accidents. In 2024, Queensland experienced its highest road toll in 15 years, recording 302 fatalities, with 41 of those occurring on the Bruce Highway. Tragically, the new year began with 3 fatalities on the highway, including a 55-year-old man whose vehicle veered off the road near Boober on January 1st, and 2 men who lost their lives in a head-on collision on January 3rd, which also left a child hospitalized. Further compounding the road's dire reputation, a bus accident in June last year claimed the lives of 3 women and injured 27 passengers. Alarmingly, nearly half of the highway fails to meet basic safety standards, with just 10% rated as extremely safe by the Australian Road Assessment Program. Only 10% of the road earned a 4 or 5-star safety rating, while 45.2% was rated 2 stars and 44.1% 3 stars. Prime Minister Albanese's $7.2 billion commitment, described as the largest investment by any government for this highway, seeks to upgrade its safety rating significantly. Infrastructure Minister Catherine King emphasised that this funding would help raise the highway's standard to at least a 3-star safety rating for 80% of its length. This allocation covers a substantial portion of the $9 billion estimated cost for the upgrades, with the remainder expected to come from the Queensland government. The announcement will be made in Queensland's Sunshine Coast region before the Prime Minister continues his tour to far north Queensland. As the federal election approaches, Mr Albanese's travels to the Northern Territory and Western Australia are set to reinforce his government's vision for advancing Australia's infrastructure, healthcare, childcare, and housing sectors. However, the Albanese government faces mounting challenges, including rising living costs that have eroded its popularity. Recent polling shows the two-party preferred vote split evenly at 50-50, with Labor losing ground among key voter demographics. The government hopes to regain momentum by focusing on future-oriented investments while relying on favourable inflation data and assistance from the Reserve Bank of Australia to ease financial pressures on families. The federal election, expected before May 17th, leaves limited opportunities for economic relief. Homeowners and the government alike are pinning hopes on a decline in the Consumer Price Index, CPI, to prompt interest rate cuts during the Reserve Bank's February and March meetings. The upcoming release of November's CPI data is anticipated to provide critical insights, although the Reserve Bank traditionally prioritizes more comprehensive quarterly data. Treasurer Jim Chalmers expressed optimism about the government's economic progress, noting that a CPI increase starting with AB2 would signal a significant reduction compared to the inflation levels inherited from the previous coalition government. The September quarter saw a 2.8% CPI increase, marking the first return to the Reserve Bank's target range of 2 to 3% in years. Current market forecasts for annual inflation range between 2.1% and 2.7%. Despite these positive indicators, Treasurer Chalmers tempered expectations for additional cost of living assistance, ruling out a pre-election spending spree. He reiterated the government's commitment to responsible economic management, with no plans for tax cuts ahead of the election. Opposition leader Peter Dutton criticised the government's approach, accusing Labor of prioritising elites and neglecting suburban Australians struggling with rising costs. He argued that the government's decisions have driven up inflation, contributing to higher grocery prices and utility bills. Mr Dutton also accused Mr Albanese of being overly influenced by the Greens, claiming this has led to a shift in economic and national security policies. The government countered these criticisms, emphasising its commitment to representing all Australians. Acting Prime Minister Richard Marles faced numerous opposition questions in Parliament regarding power prices, while Energy Minister Chris Bowen represented Australia at the UN Climate Summit. Meanwhile, crossbench MPs continued to push for greater transparency and accountability, with Helen Haines raising questions about a bill proposed by fellow independent Monique Ryan aimed at increasing lobbyist transparency. Ryan highlighted several crossbench initiatives, including measures to prevent pork barrelling, ensure truth in political advertising, and reform electoral donation laws. These proposals have yet to be debated by the government. An analysis by Climate 200, led by Simon Holmes à Court, estimated that proposed increases in public funding for elections could result in taxpayers contributing an additional $61.6 million to political parties after the 2028 election. While the government works to advance its legislative agenda, key elements remain stalled, including measures to address housing affordability. Mr. Dutton has argued that high immigration levels are worsening the housing crisis, while universities have warned that capping international student numbers, a proposal previously floated by the government, could significantly harm the education sector. As the debate intensifies, both major parties find themselves grappling with a shifting political landscape. Polling suggests increasing voter dissatisfaction with the traditional party system, raising the possibility of a hung parliament. Should this eventuate, both Labour and the coalition may need to engage with crossbench proposals to secure governance. Looking ahead, the federal government aims to finalise its mid-year economic update and federal budget due in late March. Treasurer Chalmers has cautioned against expecting a mini-budget packed with public spending measures, reiterating the importance of managing inflation. He noted that new measures would inevitably be included but ruled out extravagant pre-election promises. With the election looming, Mr. Albanese is working to strike a balance between addressing voters' immediate concerns and outlining a vision for Australia's future. His focus on upgrading the Bruce Highway demonstrates a commitment to improving safety and productivity on one of Queensland's most vital transport routes. However, the government faces the challenge of convincing voters that its broader agenda aligns with their needs amid ongoing economic pressures. As always, we'll keep you updated on these developments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights into the latest Australian news.